Section 19 of Poems of American History, the Colonial Era. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Poems of American History, the Colonial Era, Chapter 5, The Settlement of New England, Part 3. Recorded by Larry Wilson. The period of prosperity which had been marked by the first Thanksgiving was short-lived. Through nearly the whole of the next 2 years the colony was pinched with famine. A crisis was reached in the month of April, 1622, when, so tradition says, the daily ration for each person was reduced to 5 kernels of corn. 5 kernels of corn, April 1622. 'Twas the year of the famine in Plymouth of old. The ice and the snow from the thatched roofs had rolled. Through the warm purple sky steered the geese o'er the seas, and the woodpeckers tapped in the clocks of the trees, and the boughs on the slopes to the south winds lay bare, and dreaming of summer the buds swelled in the air. The pale pilgrims welcomed each reddening morn. There were left but for rations 5 kernels of corn. 5 kernels of corn. 5 kernels of corn. But to Bradford a feast were 5 kernels of corn. 5 kernels of corn, 5 kernels of corn, ye people be glad for 5 kernels of corn. So Bradford cried out on bleak Burial Hill, and the thin women stood in their doors white and still. Lo, the harbor of Plymouth rolls bright in the spring, the maples grow red, and the wood robins sing. The west wind is blowing and fading the snow, and the pleasant pines sing and the arbutuses blow. 5 kernels of corn, 5 kernels of corn, to each one be given 5 kernels of corn. O Bradford of Austerfield, haste on the way, the west winds are blowing o'er Provincetown Bay. The white avens bloom, but the pine domes are chill, and new graves had furrowed Precisioners' Hill. Give thanks, all ye people, the warm skies have come, the hilltops are sunny, and green grows the home. And the trumpets of winds, and the white march is gone, and ye shall have left you 5 kernels of corn. 5 kernels of corn, 5 kernels of corn, ye have for Thanksgiving 5 kernels of corn. The raven's gift eat and be humble and pray. A new light is breaking, and truth leads your way. 1 taper 1,000 shall kindle rejoice, that to you has been given the wilderness voice. O Bradford of Austerfield, daring the wave, and safe through the sounding blasts leading the brave, of deeds such as thine was the free nation born, and the festal world sings the 5 kernels of corn. 5 kernels of corn, 5 kernels of corn, the nation give thanks for 5 kernels of corn. To the Thanksgiving feast bring 5 kernels of corn. Hezekiah Butterworth. In June 1622, a colony of adventurers from England settled in Wessagusset, now Weymouth, and when their supplies ran short the following winter, broke open and robbed some of the Indian granaries. The Indians were naturally enraged, and formed a plot for the extirpation of the whites. Warned by Massasoit, the Plymouth settlers determined to strike the first blow, and on March 23, 1623, Standish and 8 men were dispatched to Wessagusset. The poem tells the story of the events which followed. The expedition to Wessagusset, from the courtship of Miles Standish, March 1623. Just in the gray of the dawn, as the mists uprose from the meadows, there was a stir and a sound in the slumbering village of Plymouth. Clanging and clicking of arms, and the order imperative, "Forward!" given in tones suppressed, a tramp of feet, and then silence. Figures 10 in the mist marched slowly out of the village. Standish the stalwart it was, with 8 of his valorous army, led by their Indian guide, by Hobomok, friend of the white men. Northward, marching to quell the sudden revolt of the savage, giants they seemed in the mist, or the mighty men of King David. Giants in heart they were, who believed in God and the Bible, aye, who believed in the smiting of Midianites and Philistines. O'er them gleamed far off the crimson banners of morning, under them loud on the sands. The serried billows, advancing, fired along the line, and in regular order retreated. Meanwhile the stalwart Miles Standish was marching steadily northward, winding through forest and swamp and along the trend of the seashore. After 3 days' march he came to an Indian encampment, pitched on the edge of a meadow, between the sea and the forest. Women at work by the tents, and warriors horrid with war paint seated about a fire, and smoking and talking together, who, when they saw from afar the sudden approach of the white men, saw the flash of the sun on breastplate and sabre and musket, straightway leaped to their feet, and two from among them advancing came to parley with Standish, and offer him furs as a present. Friendship was in their looks, but in their hearts there was hatred. Braves of the tribe were these, and brothers gigantic in stature, huge as Goliath of Gath, or terrible Og, king of Bashan. One was Pecksuot named, and the other was called Wattawamat. Round their necks were suspended their knives in scabbards of wampum, 2-edged trenchant knives with points as sharp as a needle. Other arms had they none, for they were cunning and crafty. "Welcome, English," they said. These words they had learned from the traders, touching at times on the coast to barter and chaffer for peltries. Then in their native tongue they began to parley with Standish, through his guide and interpreter Hobanoch, friend of the white man, begging for blankets and knives, but mostly for muskets and powder, kept by the white man, they said, concealed with the plague in his cellar, ready to be let loose and destroy his brother the red man. But when Standish refused, and said he would give them the Bible, suddenly changing their tone, they began to boast and to bluster. Then Wattawamat advanced with a stride in front of the other, and with a lofty demeanor thus vauntingly spake to the captain. Now Wattawamat can see by the fiery eyes of the captain, angry as he is in his heart. But the heart of the brave Wattawamat is not afraid of the sight. He was not born of a woman, but on a mountain at night from an oak tree riven by lightning. Forth he sprang at a bound with all his weapons about him, shouting, "Who is there here to fight with the brave Wattawamat?" Then he unsheathed his knife, and whetting the blade on his left hand, held aloft and displayed a woman's face on the handle, saying with bitter expression and look of sinister meaning, "I have another at home with the face of a man on the handle. By and by they shall marry, and there will be plenty of children." Then stood Pecksuot forth, self-vaunting, insulting Miles Standish, while with his fingers he patted the knife that hung at his bosom, drawing it half from its sheath and plunging it back as he muttered, "By and by it shall see, it shall eat, aha, but shall speak not. This is the mighty captain the white men have sent to destroy us. He is the little man, let him go and work with the women." Meanwhile Standish had noted the faces and figures of Indians, peeping and creeping from bush to tree in the forest, feigning to look for game with arrows set on their bowstrings, drawing about him still closer and closer the net of their ambush. But undaunted he stood, and dissembled, and treated them smoothly. So the old chronicles say, that were writ in the days of the fathers. But when he heard their defiance, the boast, the taunt, and the insult, all the hot blood of his race, of Sir Hugh and Thurston de Standish, boiled and beat in his heart, and swelled in the veins of his temples. Headlong he leaped on the boaster, and snatching his knife from its scabbard, plunged it into his heart, and reeling backward, the savage fell with his face to the sky, and fiend-like fierceness upon it. Straight there arose from the forest the awful sound of the war whoop, and like a flurry of snow on the whistling wind of December, swift and sudden and keen came a flight of feathery arrows. Then came a cloud of smoke, and out of the cloud came the lightning, out of the lightning thunder, and death unseen ran before it. Frightened, the savages fled for shelter in swamp and in thicket, hotly pursued and beset, but their sachem, the brave Wattawamat, fled not. He was dead. Unswerving and swift had a bullet passed through his brain, and he fell with both hands clutching the greensward, seeming in death to hold back from his foe the land of his fathers. There, on the flowers of the meadow, the warriors lay, and above them, silent, with folded arms, stood Hobomok, friend of the white man. Smiling at length, he exclaimed to the stalwart captain of Plymouth. Pecassuit bragged very loud of his courage, his strength, and his stature, mocked the great captain, and called him a little man. But I see now, big enough have you been to lay him speechless before you. Thus the first battle was fought and won by the stalwart Miles Standish, when the tidings thereof were brought to the village of Plymouth, and as a trophy of war the head of the brave Wattawamat scowled from the roof of the fort, which at once was a church and a fortress, and all who beheld it rejoiced, and praised the Lord, and took courage. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. End of section 19.